Manufacturing organizations, big, small, medium, often have a challenging task to predict how much of money will they land up making by the end of a financial cycle. This is a complex calculation because we are trying to predict, let us say for a financial year, that means 1 year ahead, how much of money we will make. However, in trying to calculate how much will they spend or how much will they make and what is going to be the product mix that they will land up selling, it makes the final calculation still tougher. Let's assume that you are a manufacturing company in charge and you make one product. The demand is fairly stable, which can be predicted for the whole year on a steady rate. You also know the cost of manufacturing of each product. You know how much you'll spend on electricity, labor, machines, lubricants, transportation. I'm pretty sure you will be able to predict with higher accuracy how much of money you will make because there is certainty. However, in a real world environment, every element of the cost structure behaves in a different way. In the sense, demand may be seasonal, the cost of raw material may show an upward trend, the manufacturing cost in terms of labor can be negotiated, let us say, every 2 years. So they have a different behavior patterns. However, this also tends to make the job of calculating the profit far more complex. And in this complexity, there is a pressure on us to predict how much of money will I make. Very often, we rely on our standard methods available to us to try and find out what products we should make so that our profit is maximized. The current available methods are, let's say, cost accounting, which is usually done by the, let's say, the finance or the accounts department of a company. And their prime job is to ferociously capture the raw material cost or the variation in raw material costs, the movement costs, the storage costs, and predict as accurately as possible what will the final cost of operation be. This is relatively less complicated than the marketing side. The marketing and the sales side also tries to predict what kind of a demand will be for each product or for each SKU. Now, we all know that even a fairly simple level company will be dealing with at least 50, 60 or maybe 500 SKUs. To accurately predict how much of each SKU is going to be sold over a period of time is not easy. And if that period of time is for a year, it still becomes tougher. Then comes the third part. How much of money will I spend in converting this raw material into finished goods, which is nothing but your operating expense. The operating expense, though for a short period of time, tends to be relatively stable, but over a period of time, the tendency is to show a small gradient upwards. That means we know that the raw material is varying, we also know the operating costs are varying, and we also know that the product mix is varying. The product mix is varying in quantity and pricing. The same product could be sold to 5 customers at 5 different selling prices, but the input cost of this product is same. This leads us to a point where throughput generated by sale of each unit depends on the selling price. All this create a complex environment for a small and medium scale industry. We can deploy top of the line accountants, activity based costing to find out exactly how much the cost is. But still, to predict the profit will remain a dream. On top of this, if you are a big company managing director, once you predict that I will make an X amount of profit, you only have a leverage of 5 to 7% up and down. Let's say you are in a very liberal environment and you are allowed that your estimate can fluctuate by 10% up and down. That's it. If your decision making goes wrong, the company performance is taken a big hit, and so does the market, and so does your position to say, no, this person's management skills are not good enough. So the question arises, how do we know how much of money we can make? Are we using the correct methods to find out the profits that we'll make? Or what product mix should we take so that I make the maximum profit? The other side of this question is, which are my profitable products? How much of profit we are going to make? How much can we sell? So we start looking at the demand. We go to the marketing department and we ask them, how much do you think you can sell? And we make sure that we have a stiff target, so we make a lot of money. And they come back and they'll give a figure to say, sir, I think we can sell this much. And as and when you just start feeling happy, they tell you, but there is a condition. No marketing demand is without ifs and buts. On top of that, as we start predicting the demand, or rather we start forecasting the demand into the future, the accuracy of forecast keeps going down. This puts immense challenges on us. We can put in as much of effort as we want to predict or to forecast with higher degree of accuracy, but the results of forecasting are not good enough to help us come to a decisive and very clean understanding how much money we will make. Okay, we're supposed to be living with this. We'll live with this. Let me simplify it for you. If I tell you, you are managing a company which has got fairly simple operations, you have just 2 products to sell, the cost of raw material is done, and you can't even complain that my vendors are not reliable. They will supply you the material as and when you want. So there is a stability in supply side. I have taken away the variability in demand. So if I say that you can sell an X amount of the product, it will be sold. However, if you make X plus 2, the 2 will not be sold. This is demand. You can always overproduce, you will be penalized. You underproduce, you will be penalized. Now, to get a scenario like this, and to make it more realistic, let us also bring down the time frame in which you have to predict or you have to calculate the profit you will make. Now, let me bring that time frame down to a week. So here's a company which just makes 2 products. And since it makes 2 products, I'm also making sure that you don't have a price difference from one customer to another. All the products are sold at one price in the market. To reduce the variation in demand, I bring the time frame down to a week. So the demand is for a week, you're selling 2 products. Your suppliers are pretty good, they supply on time and at the right quality and at right quantity. Your process is the second place where probably the output may vary. Let's make that easy for you too. Let's say this is a perfect operation. Whatever is the rated output, you get it every time without variation, and that too without rejection. I'm trying to create an ideal situation where the demand doesn't fluctuate, the customers don't change their mind, the raw material comes on time, high quality, there is no labor issue, the variation in process is 0 and you have a perfect operation. But even after all this hard work of perfect operation, we still have some limitations, and the limitation is of interchangeability. We can do cross training, but it will only go that much of a distance. So in your operations you are left with few resources which are now unique, and these resources cannot be further combined or made interchangeable. So there is a small limitation on the operation side, but more or less everything else has been stabilized. Now, do you think in this environment, can you predict how much of money you will make by the end of the week? I believe so. But to make this calculation, you would require some data. Let's see what data will you require. You would require selling price. You would require the raw material price. You will require the money spent on converting the raw material into finished goods. You will require overhead expenses, salaries, electric cost, maintenance cost, etc., etc. You will require the data on number of resources required. You will require the data on how many hours does the company work. Okay, let's live with this, that such a data is available to you and they're all 100% accurate. Will you be able to tell me how much of money will your company make by the end of the week? Or in other words, can you tell me the product mix that you should sell so that you make the maximum profit? You can make this judgment of how much of profit you'll make by using all your current policies available with you. Nothing else, but these are the management practices which a company uses to find out all the cost figures or the selling figures, or let us say the overhead figures. Now, if there is such a company, I would put it pictorially to you right now. Let me call this company P and Q company. This company makes two products, P and Q. Now, if you make a product, there has to be demand. Or in other words, we only manufacture if there's a demand. Since we are working on a 1 week time frame, we will work on weekly demand. So, the P and Q company makes only two products. The weekly demand for P is 100. The weekly demand for Q is 50. The selling price for P is 90 rupees. The selling price for Q is 100 rupees. Let's come to the raw material part. If there are two products and we are manufacturing two products, there are two types of raw materials. One could be a common raw material. The second could be the one which is uniquely used in these two products. So even in this company, we have these two types of products. To manufacture one of Q, we have one unique raw material and one common raw material. To manufacture P, we have one unique raw material and one common raw material. This common one is common to P and Q both. This is technically called the bill of material. However, sometimes we also have a bought-in component which probably gets assembled at a later stage. Q does not have any, P has one. All this add up to be the cost of raw materials. So for Q, we have a raw material cost of 40 rupees, and P, including the bought-in component, the raw material cost is 45. So now we have the selling price, we have the raw material price. Now, there has to be a method in which this raw material gets converted into final goods, which is to be sold. The steps taken to convert a raw material into finite good is actually called the manufacturing process. Manufacturing process requires machines or skill sets. Let us assume that I have 4 skill sets which now cannot be further interchanged, so they are unique. That means if I need some more of the skill set, I need to add something extra, or rather I need to add one extra machine or another person to increase the skill set. These skill sets use this raw material and convert it into finished goods, which is P and Q. The usage of these skills is usually in a sequence, which is called the routing. So the raw material is brought in, processed in a certain sequence, and then sold. This processing requires overheads, direct costs, labor, and everything. For the sake of simplicity, we can say that the total cost of converting raw material into finished goods is 6,000 rupees per week. Now this 6,000 rupees is inclusive of everything: salary, electricity, maintenance, consumables, labor, everything put inside. Now, since there is a rate of production, there will be a total time for each of these products in which the raw material gets converted into finished goods. Let's do that calculation too. So there's a raw material which gets converted into finished goods, and let that finished good be Q. So from raw material to finished goods, there is a 4-stage production. And in this 4-stage production, the resources get used for a certain amount of time. This is sometimes called the manufacturing time, or the effort required to convert a raw material into finished goods. The total amount of time required to convert raw material into finished goods for P, 60 minutes. This 60 minutes is split into 4 stages of manufacturing. Similarly, for Q, the raw material gets converted into finished goods in 4 stages. So Q takes 50 minutes, P takes 60 minutes.